How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I'm delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, don't forget, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. So if you do, you're going to get a list. You know, it's been a while since I've done this. 33777, E-R-I-C-K. You text that, you get back all sorts of links from me. Just text Eric. So you get the subscribe to my daily note, the podcast. So you get the show podcast, the 4 Things to Know podcast, the live stream, all the social media. The 4 Things to Know, when I'm done, I do a very short 5 minutes. 5 to 8 minutes of all the stuff that I haven't gotten a chance to cover on the show today. You can subscribe. I want to go back to something I've talked about, but not as in-depth as I need to. Let me pull back the curtain just a little bit. For the record, first of all, no one on my team and staff like it when I pull back the curtain and give you the inside dirt from behind the scenes at the Eric Erickson Show. However, I'm going to, because it is my show. It's not the Erickson team show. And I get to talk about what I want to talk about. And if they don't like it, well, too bad. They can't come in here and pull the cord and cut the power because they work remotely. So we have a Slack channel, apparently, allegedly. I claim to know about it on occasion, but everybody puts stories in there. Charlie puts stories in, Philip puts stories in, Fisher puts stories in, I put stories in, and I always tend to forget to look at the Slack channel because I like to do my own show prep. It is my show. I feel like I should do my show prep. You know, when I fill in for Rush, back in the day, Snerdley would email me, and it would be like a 100-page stack of stuff. And by the time he'd emailed it to me, I was already doing my own show prep, and he would email me the stack of stuff and said, well, here's all your research you need for today. It's like, what is this? I've done my research, and he was always a little bit flummoxed that I was doing my own stuff. But apparently, Rush had some guest hosts who the staff had to do the show prep for him. I do my own show prep because it's the Eric Erickson Show. It should be the stuff I'm interested in. What I find when I go into the Slack channel, though, is that Fisher and Charlie tend to put in a lot of the political stuff from Twitter that we all kind of have seen, and it's the stuff I miss. They'll both put in sports stuff, and I love to watch football, but I'm not really a sports guy. I don't keep up with it as much. Occasionally, Fisher pollutes it with stuff about the Mets. And then Philip puts in a lot of business stuff. He's the penny-pinching tightwad of the bunch and focuses on business. The other is more on politics, cultural news. Philip does some cultural news, religious stuff, business stuff. And it helps me fill in the show. When I'm at a loss, I've been traveling a lot. Typically, I use the Slack channel when I'm traveling a ton and I haven't had time to sit down and I can go into Slack and read everything there instead of trying to get it all over the internet, and it helps. But occasionally, I do stuff on business and the economy, and it makes Philip happy. And it flies over everybody else's head. This is all a fancy way of saying that's what we're doing right now. It's the economy, stupid. James Carville said that in 1991, not 1992. It was 1991 when Bill Clinton decided he was going to run for president, and they were fleshing out his campaign. And George H.W. Bush was on a major high from the Gulf War, and he's headed in with astronomically high ratings. Then we hit a recession. And Carville decided that Clinton could win by focusing on the economy. Here's a very bottom line nugget that can be clipped and put out on social media. When you have a wave election in this country going back 100 years, it's the economy, stupid. When you see every election everywhere go in the same general direction, it's always about the economy. Cultural elections go in opposite directions depending on the state because liberals go one way, conservatives go another way. When it comes to the economy, everyone feels the pinch of the economy. They all go the same direction. This should be a signal for Republicans that there's a problem in the economy. But it's not just tariffs. I mention tariffs a lot because tariffs are a bad policy, and the president is taking economic advice from a bunch of idiots when it comes to the economy. Scott Bessent doesn't like the tariffs, but he's doing a really good job pretending he does. Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, sadly does love tariffs. Peter Navarro loves tariffs. 1950s economic policy in the 21st century. Some of you love tariffs. Tariffs are actually slowing the rate of pay raises, slowing hiring, increasing costs. You may not be feeling it when you go to the grocery store because though coffee is up, some goods aren't, but those companies are eating the cost of the tariffs, which means they don't have the money to pay you more money. But there are larger issues than tariffs. Tariffs are an issue, but they are not the only issue. And the issue that is a bigger issue is the general breakdown of the American economy. While the top stocks in the S&P 500 are doing very well, the bottom 85% are not. And AI is causing problems. And white-collar workers who lean Democrat are starting to lose jobs to AI. AI is not going to replace your plumber. AI is not going to replace your electrician. AI is not going to replace all the people on the factory line. AI is not going to replace the linemen at the utility companies. But AI is going to replace the entry-level accountant. AI is in some cases going to supplement and reduce the need for nurse practitioners. AI is going to replace the lawyer at the entry level. AI is going to replace a lot of white-collar jobs, mostly entry-level positions. It's going to be harder for people to do entry-level work. They're going to have more advanced specialties and degrees. That's going to cost them more. That's going to saddle them with more debt. Now take all of that and shove it aside for a moment. I got invited into a website where I can invest in companies that you are not allowed to invest in. There is an entire economy that you do not get to play a part in, that I get to play a part in because I have some mild celebrity status and have some connections and some money, and they invited me in so I can invest in a couple of companies I'm interested in that aren't traded on the public stock market, and they're very good companies. And increasingly in the United States, a lot of the very big companies, a lot of the very interesting companies, those are companies that aren't being traded on Wall Street. The number of publicly traded stocks has declined in this country. The number of stocks that are being capitalized by very wealthy people that you don't get to be a part of, it's growing. And the result is that when they finally are publicly traded, they've milked all the money from the investors they possibly can. They've stopped being the prodigal companies, and now they're just run-of-the-mill. They're rather ordinary, and you're not going to get the explosive rate of return that is happening right now before they go public. And you know what that means? The rich keep getting richer, and you don't, because you don't qualify, and you're cut out of the picture. That's going to build resentment. So now you have a bunch of people who are coming into the workforce who have had to get extra degrees and extra career credentials to compete with AI, so they're saddled with debt. And their companies give them 401ks. And their 401k doesn't have the growth it once had because all of the companies that are really growing are no longer publicly available for them to invest in. So they fall far behind. There's going to be hell to pay. Now let's add into that healthcare costs. Republicans, what's your position on healthcare? Because a lot of people work for mid-sized companies, and mid-sized companies are getting eaten up with healthcare costs. And people are paying higher premiums, so you're paying a higher premium for your healthcare. Your 401k doesn't make the rate of return that it once made because the companies you want to invest in, you can invest in, and they're no longer on the publicly traded stock market. People are going to get mad. Along comes the President of the United States, and his sterling example of economic success is to raise taxes through tariffs and deny he's raising taxes through tariffs and rely on the easily manipulated and gullible to claim that it's not a tax increase. The economy has problems. New York City has just elected a socialist. The country could swing to the right, but the country could very easily swing to the left. How the Republicans respond is going to matter because the Democrats, they made people mad because the Democrats picked winners and losers, and the Republicans said, we're going to do it differently. And then what happened? The Republicans came in. They not only picked winners, but they demanded the government take a stake in those companies. Good luck when the Democrats come back and say, hey, we're going to be taking a stake in Apple. We're going to take a stake in Microsoft. We're going to take a stake in these companies. You know who's worse for the economy than you and me? The bureaucrats who think they're the smartest guys in the room. President Trump has set the precedent for this. The Democrats could capitalize on it. You think the country won't swing left? If they're not getting results from the Republicans who promised to fix what Joe Biden broke, they may go back to the Democrats. It's the economy, stupid. The president's saving grace will be Mamdani in New York, whose policies we will get to experience before the midterms. But the Republicans, I'm afraid, as the consultant class is prone to do, is going to overcompensate and make every election about Zoran Mamdani, a man most people will never meet, never know, and never feel the effects of his policies. But the policies they're feeling the effects of are coming from Washington, D.C., and the Republicans are in charge right now. And it may not be fair, it may not be honest, but the Republicans are in charge, so they're going to get the blame. So they better have questions for how to deal with the AI issue. They better have answers, rather, for that. They better have answers for the questions related to the future. There is some discontent out there. Bernie Sanders has higher favorables and lower unfavorables than the President of the United States, according to Gallup. There's a backlash growing to financial institutions and business institutions, to the Silicon Valley guys who live hedonistic lifestyles and keep getting rich on the backs of others, to scientists doing creepy things with genetics, to this growing aristocracy of billionaires who buy up media companies and treat you and me as expendable. There's a backlash to the private equity companies of America that believe instead of making a good or service and being rewarded with money, that it's money that's the product, and they treat everyone else as a commodity. You have growing corruption in Washington, D.C., even the Trump administration and the Trump family. Yeah, there's a reason the Democrats keep talking about the Trump family and the cryptocurrency bros and all of that. There's a scandal waiting to happen there. The president has been willing to leverage cultural critiques of the Democrats on how alienated the Democrats are from you and me and how they live their lives, these cultural concerns. But at some point, it's going to become economic. And because he's the leader of the free world and of the United States right now, the economic concerns are going to be placed on top of him. And he and his administration better have some policy solutions that are contrary to socialism, that leverage the free market and work to give you and me access to a working economy. And if I can give just one suggestion, it's this. One of the key concepts of a free market is the creative destruction of that marketplace, where a company can fail and you and I can pick through the pieces and take the good ideas and build new wealth. And neither the Republicans nor Democrats in Washington have allowed the creative destruction to happen. We've preserved General Motors, we're preserving Intel, we're preserving all of these companies, zombie companies. Allow the arm's length transactions of the free market to happen, and we will all be better off, and the billionaires, some of them, their wealth will crumble. But if you can't relieve the stress in the markets right now, and you're sending all of this wealth into private markets that most Americans can't get access to, you're going to find a lot of Americans decide the economy doesn't work for them. They consider it capitalist, and Mamdani is going to be the beginning, not the end of what we see. Have you heard about Cove Pure? You may have one of those water pitchers you put in your refrigerator. Well, you can get the Cove Pure, put it on your countertop, and you get hot water, cold water. It's all really good filtered water. You can pull the pitcher out of it and pour, or you can put a cup under it, and it's got the buttons for like a 6-ounce, an 8-ounce, or a 16-ounce glass. You push it, you say, I want it hot, I want it cold. It fills up the glass exactly the way you want it. Even a custom option if you've got a 20-ounce glass or big Yeti tumbler, whatever you need. It just works, and the water is great. Uses reverse osmosis, among other things. I've been drinking way more water since I got one of these on my countertop in the office. If you're looking for a gift that's good for a loved one they'll actually use, get them the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They'll give you a special $250 holiday discount. Go to covepure.com/Eric. That's COVE, Cove, Pure, PURE.com/Eric, ERICK. $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale's going to end, so you better hurry up. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Eric Erickson here. I need to say something to you lovingly. And I do. I actually mean this very lovingly. Let me describe for you the tweet that I'm seeing. I'm seeing a picture of a smiling Zoran Mamdani next to a picture of Osama bin Laden, next to a picture of the rubble of the World Trade Center. And there are a lot of you, I think, who probably think that New York has elected a Muslim, communist. They have forgotten 9/11. I don't think that's the case at all. I really don't. I don't like Mamdani. I don't like his policies. I think New York is going to be ruined as a result of them. But I don't think it's fair to tie him to the 9/11 attack. If anything, you should be blaming Andrew Cuomo, who sucked the oxygen and money out of the room and didn't let a better candidate run against Mamdani, who might have won. Your blame should be with Andrew Cuomo, not hearkening back to 9/11 and blaming New Yorkers for supposedly forgetting something that most of you didn't actually experience in real time, and they did. Now, let me tell you about Old Glory Bank. They're my bank, and they can be your bank. They are a nationwide bank. They're an online bank, but they're great. OldGloryBank.com/Eric is where you go. OldGloryBank.com/ERICK. You can get a checking account. You can get a savings account. You can get mortgages. You can get CDs. If you're a business, you can get business accounts. They are FDIC insured, and they're a fantastic bank by conservatives for conservatives. Even though they're an online bank, you can deposit cash, which I expect to do when I come back from the craps table in Las Vegas, and they just work. They're great people. You can get a custodial account for your kid, by the way. No fee checking, no fee savings. If you're a first responder, a veteran, you're active duty military, you can get premium accounts with some fees waived, interest-bearing checking accounts, things like that. Check them out, oldglorybank.com/Eric. If you need a bank for yourself, for your kid, for a loved one, or your business, oldglorybank.com/Eric. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick two. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Hello there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States, and I sure appreciate you tuning in. The phone number is 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. I need to have a chat with you. Let's have a small conversation, shall we? If you go back to the autopsies of the Kamala Harris and the Elizabeth Warren campaigns from 2020, when their primaries imploded against Joe Biden, in both occasions, particularly Kamala Harris, but also Elizabeth Warren, in the analysis of why they did so poorly, Kamala Harris never even made it to Iowa, if you will recall. She was out before Iowa. The analysis was that they were too busy playing to the fights on Twitter. And Kamala Harris in particular was trying to win the daily fight on Twitter and the daily messaging war on Twitter more than she was trying to win an election. If there is a greater caution for Republicans from last night, and many Republicans are starting to move into the camp J.D. Vance voiced earlier, that, guys, this is just New Jersey, New York, and Virginia, and an off your election with the party in the White House being the Republicans. Of course the Democrats were going to do good. Of course. No lessons to learn here. That's where a lot of Republicans are going to go. But there actually is a lesson to learn. And that lesson to learn is that Twitter's not real life. You know where Twitter is right now? Twitter is, they're fighting over the filibuster. They're fighting over Kevin Roberts and the Heritage Foundation and Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. One of the things that I have found most notable on Twitter is how many people, and I call them not wokes, but progressive right, how many of them have genuinely taken to embracing identity politics on the right. It's kind of a tell of progressivism when you embrace identity politics. On the left, it's the people of color, the BIPOCs and the like, and on the right now, it's all Americans versus immigrants. I want to have a word with you if you are really obsessed with immigrant culture right now, and we need to ban all immigrants. What you're doing is, with the word immigrant, you're doing the same thing Democrats do with Hispanics. There aren't Hispanics and there aren't Latinos in the United States. That's the way the Democrats talk. There are Latinos or Latinas or Latinx or Hispanics. There aren't. There are Venezuelans and Colombians and Guatemalans and Hondurans and Mexicans and Nicaraguans and Ecuadorians and Peruvians and Argentinians and Cubans. If you say immigrant in this country, what do you mean? Do you mean non-white immigrants? You're okay with the French immigrants? The Swedish immigrants, you like socialism? Are you okay with the Lithuanian immigrant? Are you okay with the Czech immigrant, the Italian immigrant, the Spanish immigrant, the Chinese immigrant, the South Korean, the Japanese, the Laotian, the Australian, When you say immigrant, you're saying, oh, immigration is bad. No, what you're trying to say is you mean actually a third world immigrant. You're okay with the first world white immigrants who like socialism. It's the third world immigrants who want a better life. You don't like them. But you know what? I have news for you. Even in that, a Kenyan is not a Ugandan, is not an Ethiopian, is not a Sudanese, is not a Nigerian, is not a South African, is not an Egyptian, is not a Moroccan. They're all different people on a single continent in massively different cultures and values, religions and ways of life. And if you just say immigrant, but on Twitter now, if you are a Republican on Twitter who is obsessed with immigration, you use this blanket immigrant statement because you're on the progressive right in the way progressives on the left talk about Hispanics. And you know what? In the real world, fewer people care about that than actually care about the cost of living. Not only that, but if you are really into social media and you're into online podcasts and the big world of, well, conservative media, you are really, 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 really focused on deportations. And here's one to surprise you. If you're on the left, you are going to be surprised to learn that most of the, for lack of a better word, Hispanic voters in this country, the immigrants of Central and South America, they're really in favor of deportations. In fact, they overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump in 2024 because of the illegal immigration issue. They took the time to come here legally. They're furious that so many people were able to come here easily as illegal aliens. They're furious about it. If you're a Republican, however, you need to know they're mad at you now because you said you were going to round up the gangbangers and the criminals. And now Jose, who made the tacos down the street, he's gone. The guy who cut your grass, he's gone. The grandmother who's been here for 40 years, well, she accidentally got rounded up, but they deported her too because she's an illegal immigrant. And you people on the right are cheering that on. And you're coming across as, well, a-holes. And there are a lot of Hispanic voters who sided with Donald Trump because they didn't like their neighborhoods getting unsafe because of the criminals and the gangbangers. But the grandmother down the street, they were fine with her. Jose, who flips the tacos, makes the tacos, they were fine with him. Jesus, who cuts the grass, they were fine with him, and they're gone too now. And they think you overdid it. And you came across as cruel when you did it. But that doesn't get reflected on social media because you guys live on Twitter so much. And on Twitter, the world is different. I saw someone after Donald Trump got elected in 2024 and said, everyone who said you need to go touch grass because Twitter's not real life should themselves touch grass because it turns out Twitter is real life. No, it never was. Occasionally there are points of contact between the real world and Twitter, but oftentimes the animosities on Twitter, look, you get on Twitter right now. In fact, let me see if I can do this. I don't know. Let's refresh here. No, but let me scroll. Yep. Okay. All I had to do was take one swipe up, and there are the words Nick Fuentes. Most Americans have no idea who he is, but if you're hyper online, you know. One more swipe up. There we go. There's another one on Tucker Carlson and the Heritage Foundation. Let's do one more swipe up. And yep, there we go. Daryl Cooper and Tucker Carlson again. One more swipe up. Oh, that was a big swipe up. Let's see. Did I get it? One more. Yeah, okay. Just one more. Guys, Twitter's not real life, and you've convinced yourselves it is, just like Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren did, and they both lost. Yeah, it's absolutely true that we can look on the election results last night and we can say, well, it was New York, New Jersey, and Virginia. The party of the White House tends to do bad. There's a government shutdown. And it's absolutely true. But you lost statewide races in Georgia. You've been losing special elections in areas of the country that actually have been pretty Republican. If you don't want to pay attention to the warning signs, I can't make you pay attention to the warning signs. Many of you have been dismissive of tariffs being a problem. Many of you have dismissed the economic problems. You're not feeling them, therefore they must not exist. Every Republican on Twitter says everything is fine and hunky-dory. It's just the immigrants. We got to get rid of the immigrants. Which immigrants? Well, they really mean the non-white third world immigrants, that they're convinced, much as people did of the Irish back in the day, are bringing their problems, diseases, and socialism to this country. In some cases it's true, and in many cases it's not. But the online world is corrupting voices on the right. It's influencing the things that people on the right are caring about. Immigration is a big one because, I care about it too. It was number one, number two, number three issue for voters. But Donald Trump not only cleaned up the problem, but now it's coming across as cruel in many cases. And it's showing up among Hispanic voters. And I remember months ago I was telling you guys that pollsters I know and strategists I know who talk to Hispanic voters say Hispanics were swinging wildly back against Donald Trump because of that issue, and it was going to hurt them in the midterms. It was going to hurt them in the off year this year, and a lot of Republicans dismissed it because online, everybody's so happy about it. The neighborhoods are safe, and I was like, yeah, but you're getting rid of people's gardeners, and you're getting rid of people's housekeepers, and you're getting rid of the guys who work at the local restaurant, and you're getting rid of the cheap labor. And even I have been kind of offended by Democrats saying, who's going to pick our cotton for us, which is a dumb thing for them to say. But the corollary here is that a lot of people know a lot of these people in their community, and they're no longer there. They either self-deported or they got deported. And a lot of Hispanic voters, not white voters, not black voters, but Hispanic voters who shifted to the right are like, well, I knew that guy. We went to church together. He wasn't a bad guy. And they got mad. Y'all, there are problems for the Republicans. There actually are problems that you need to understand here. And a lot of those problems come from too many political activists on the right who are currently driving conversations on the right are spending way too much time on social media, in particular Twitter, and they think it's real life. And it's not real life. It's their life because they live there. They've detached themselves from everywhere else. They don't hang out at the local coffee shop. They sit around their computer watching their Twitter feed. They're not listening to their local newscast. They're listening to some podcaster who himself is deeply online. And they're beginning to realign themselves, their issues, and the things that matter to them based on the conversations online. And those are not the conversations people in the real world are having. They're not the conversations in Rio Linda. They're not the conversations in McDonough, Georgia. They're not the conversations in El Paso, Texas. And they're not the conversations in Des Moines, Iowa. The upside for Republicans is that this is actually very fixable. It actually is very, very fixable. It actually is something the GOP can address. But they're going to have to. One of the side note problems in all of this is that the President of the United States is actually really a lame duck now. And I think that that lame duck status of the president is going to increase. Why? Because what we saw last night is that voters in Donald Trump's coalition do not turn out unless Donald Trump is on the ballot. And Donald Trump will never be on the ballot again. Those of you on the left, you've got, more than 1,000 days before Donald Trump is gone. I mean, y'all have burned all your energy out. We're not even through the first year of the Trump administration yet, and y'all are emotionally and mentally exhausted. And you've got over 3 years left. Think about that. You still have over 3 years of Donald Trump left. But the good news for you is he will never be on the ballot again. You can wring your hand about, he's going to try a third term and stuff. He says he's not. He's not. The Constitution won't let him. He's never going to be on the ballot again. There is the problem for the Republicans. The man who can turn out voters unlike anyone else in current American politics is never going to be on the ballot again to turn those voters out. which is why he's becoming a lame duck, which is why you're going to start seeing guys like Rubio and J.D. Vance, maybe a Glenn Youngkin, now that he's term limited in Virginia, and others start trying to expand their exposure. And you're going to see Senate Democrats more and more defy the President of the United States. You're going to see more and more people on the right start trying to figure out what comes next because the president's not on the ballot anymore. And the president turns people out in ways no one else does. And the people who I think are probably going to be the most successful in the primaries are the ones who are the most hyper online. And those people are going to be the least successful in the general election. You got to find some balance. Twitter is not real life. The issues that people care about right now on Twitter are issues most Americans have never even heard of. You know what Americans have heard of, though? The grocery store. They know that prices are going up. They may not tie it to tariffs. They may not think tariffs are a problem. They may not understand how tariffs work, but they know that coffee prices are up. They know that banana prices are up. They know that the prices of canned goods, including their beer, is up. They know that meat prices are up. They know that beef prices are up. They know egg prices, remarkably, are down. But everything else seems more expensive. Gas is cheaper. Eggs are cheaper. Everything else more expensive. And the pace and cost of living continues to go up. They haven't heard of Nick Fuentes. They haven't heard of Kevin Roberts. They haven't heard of the Heritage Foundation. They really don't care about Memdani because they don't live anywhere near New York. They live down the street from a grocery store where they're having to go back to clipping coupons, and they remember Donald Trump told them that that era would be over for them, and yet now they're back to buying the Sunday paper to get the coupons to be able to cut, clip, and go to the grocery store to save some money because the cost of living is going up again, and their paychecks aren't. And Donald Trump's in the White House, and he promised to fix that, and he hasn't. And that, my friends, is where Americans are. They're not on Twitter. They're at the grocery store mad at grocery prices. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Glad to have you with me. I would be remiss if I did not note the awful plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky yesterday, the UPS cargo plane. 9 people thus far dead. There's still a couple of people missing. It was horrific. It's also a reminder of the ubiquitous nature now of cell phone cameras, how everybody's got a camera. It's why when you hear people say things happen like the Bigfoot, how come you can't get a clear shot of Bigfoot? We can all get different angles of a plane crash happening in real time and the explosion related there too, but we can't get pictures of Bigfoot. It is kind of an odd world now. Everybody's got a camera in their pocket, and it's actually a very good camera. And in most cases, it's a better camera than the old real cameras you used to use. Better lens, better zoom, things like that. And to see the many angles of that yesterday, it was just horrific and tragic. And prayers for the team at UPS. They're good people, and for the families of those who died and those who were injured in that crash. Just sad. Now, I need to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them. You can save $200. You can get the 3 of them for less than $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. They're an air purifier. They get rid of pollen and dust. They get rid of pet dander. They also eliminate 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, and they wipe out all odors. They wipe out odors because they generate ozone, and the ozone touches the ionized particles we know as odors and wipes them out. And because ozone is a gas, it goes where the odors are, where you might not be able to reach, and it can wipe them out there. And it's highly effective. You get 3 of them, you save $200. You get all 3 of them for less than $200. It's highly portable. You can hold them in your hand. Keep one in my travel bag. You can plug it up to the wall or with a USB cord in a car. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3, EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code ERIC3. And wipe out odors, bacteria, viruses, capture dust today.